The budget proposal of the president is unbelievably insulting. You can find out all the details on it at foxnews.com and look into it. It is insulting. But beyond that, let's talk about the things that actually affect you. Food prices. Food prices are about to skyrocket, as we have said. The Orange Growers Association actually came out and said that they believe that orange juice is going to become a luxury item. Orange juice. Things are changing. Tell your friends to please wake up. The media is still busy hailing the Egypt revolts as the second coming of 1776. I just saw that newscast at the bottom of the hour, and I'm like, my gosh, that's exactly what we said would happen. That it would set the Middle East on fire because others saw it and were inspired. Egypt, however, is on a path now to unprecedented liberty and freedom, according to the media. Democracy at last. This morning on MSNBC's Morning Joe, the co-host couldn't believe that a smart, Harvard-educated man like Neil Ferguson could possibly believe that anything is wrong in Egypt. Why, just look at the pictures.
I want to hear more about how you think he blew it with Egypt, because looking at all the different reports coming in and the pictures and the peacefulness on the streets of Cairo, so far, so good. It actually seems like it went pretty damn well.
He didn't think so. No. He started telling her about the caliphate, and then a little early. Sure, the Egyptian people threw a dictator out of power in 17 days, and I think we all agree on that one, that's great. But is that the way we judge success in Egypt? To me, there are several things that we need to look at. Kind of have some metrics to be able to measure this. Do we see a positive or negative change in the way Egypt deals with the U.S.? Do we see a positive or negative change in the way Egypt deals with Israel? Do we see an Egyptian politician outwardly expressing Islamic extremist rhetoric? Do we see human rights violations go up or down? Is the government increasing or decreasing the rights of women? Is the government increasing or decreasing the rights of religious minorities? See, isn't this what the left called for in saying, how do we know we've won the war? What does success look like? They wanted a definition. Well, I do too. But I think we should not only apply it in Iraq and Pakistan and Afghanistan, but maybe in Egypt too. Because I think, I don't remember them celebrating when Saddam Hussein was gone out of power. They said, no one, it's unwinnable. I told you these things were happening, and everybody's just like, oh, this is great for Egypt. I happen to disagree. It is better than Mubarak so far, yes, but let's have a standard to judge it by. And if these things turn out to be more positive than negative, great. But don't we need to ask these questions? How about this one? Is it going to destabilize the Middle East, and do we have anybody pushing for caliphates? Our CIA director is getting his reports of Mubarak stepping down last week from the media, so I don't know if anybody's really there to answer the question. It sounds like they're kind of like camping or checked out. The left freaked out over the belief that Iraqis who had Americans to guide them, help set up a government, those Iraqis couldn't possibly put together a meaningful democracy for themselves. They can't do that. Yet in Egypt, where one poll has found that 85% of Egyptians favor putting people to death if you switch out of Islam to another faith, the media somehow or another has total confidence that this is going to work out. Would Thomas Jefferson be smiling down with pride and approval for that mentality? Was it Patrick Henry who declared, make them Muslim or give them death? I don't think so. I don't think that's what he said. Maybe it's just me. Don't get me wrong. I hope and I pray that it turns out well for the Egyptian people and all of the people in the Middle East. And when we can answer all 6 of these questions in a favorable way, or at least a majority of them, I would love to proclaim to the world that Egypt has set a new standard for peace and freedom in the Middle East. Unfortunately, something else seems to be happening, and I'll show that to you next. Some who may casually watch this program will say, Glenn, why aren't you supporting the wonderful movement for democracy and freedom in Egypt? Well, if that's what it is, I do support it. But we're going to have to wait and see. The military now has seized control. They have dissolved the parliament and suspended the Constitution. That doesn't scream freedom to me. Now, if they really do follow through, put together a new constitution, hold free and fair elections for a new parliament, and relinquish control to the then duly elected benevolent non-Islamic state government, I'll break down like a little 3-year-old girl and cry so long and hard. I'll be so happy and relieved. The problem is, we're already seeing some signs of real concern. First, this thing is spreading, as we told you on day number 1 it would. We are seeing instability across the Middle East and now even into Europe. This weekend, there were massive protests in Algeria, Jordan, Yemen, and yes, even Italy, where thousands of Italians took to the streets in some 200 cities across the country Sunday in protest of the Prime Minister's alleged behavior towards women. Now, I want to make this clear. This Italian unrest is obviously coming from a different place than in the Middle East, but it does show the uprising mentality continuing to spread. By the way, they have also declared a state of emergency in Italy because of all of the illegal immigrants coming in from Tunisia. The fear is in Italy that some of these Tunisians are actually escaped prisoners from Tunisia or Tunisian terrorists. They are flowing in so rapidly at such a high rate, no one in Italy can tell who is who. But I digress. The protests continue. New popular protests were scheduled today in Bahrain. Libya comes next on Thursday, followed by Algeria, and then on Saturday, Morocco, Cameroon, and Kuwait. Today in Iran, despite a government ban on demonstrations, thousands of protesters turned out in Tehran, met by 10,000 members of the Iranian security. And according to one report today, one person was shot dead at a Tehran rally, and several more wounded by opposition supporters. Here is a video. This is a video here of an Iranian protester burning a picture of the late Ayatollah Khomeini and Iran's supreme leader, now the Ayatollah Sayyid Ali Khamenei. They are chanting Mubarak ben Ali, now Sayyid Ali's turn. Well, this you would think would be a protest the Obama administration should encourage. Secretary of State Hillary Clinton has come out, but where is the president? In a state where they have vowed to destroy Israel, they hate us, they refer to us as the great Satan, they rule with Sharia law, they stone homosexuals to death, they seek to hasten the 12th Imam and the end of the world. I don't know, seems like we might have a chance for a positive outcome in that country. Now I can already hear the left. Glenn Beck baselessly encourages unrest in Iran while not being sure it's a good thing in Egypt. Yes, except not baselessly. My basis is Iran is our enemy, and it is an Islamic state and a center for terrorism, not only in the Middle East, but worldwide. A military dictatorship would be better than that. Not necessarily for the people, but us. Change might bring friendlier relations and actual freedom to the Iranian citizens. It might. Egypt most likely is going in the opposite direction. But don't worry. Don't worry about those pesky little details if you're writing for Time magazine or you work for MS Al Jazeera. Don't worry your pretty little head. Just look at the pictures. I want to show you a couple of things here. Remember that George Soros and Van Jones and everybody has talked about this. Bottom up, top down, and inside out. Meaning you get the people to rise up. And then if you have the right players in place at the top, they can come in with their solution, top down. And the hard part, turn yourself inside out. Find out what's inside. Hard part, as Van Jones says. That means have a conversion. Have a conversion. Have a spiritual conversion, Van Jones. Jim Wallace is there to help you do that. He's had a spiritual, he was part of this group that wants to have the Islamic flag fly over the White House, but he's had a conversion. Inside out part. Inside out part. Look what they did. This is One Nation working together. This is the president's group. And they're all working together. Radical communists, along with Planned Parenthood, and preachers, and capitalists, the steel workers, and the ACLU helping business grow stronger, working with communists. That's weird, isn't it? One world government, the United Nations, what have they done? They've cobbled together all of the countries and put them together. The caliphate, you've got different people cobbling things together. Open society, cobbling leadership together all over. Top. Here it is, the State Department doing it. The top, but they're all encouraging the bottom. They're orchestrating the bottom. So the bottom will rise up, and then the leaders will be able to fix it for you. Got it? There's one thing that's missing on this board, because I see everybody that wants a new world order, but I don't see you, the Tea Parties. I want to show you something at glennbeck.com. Please go there today, right now. Can you bring this up, please? This is how you can get connected. Right now, find out all the details at glennbeck.com. See all these people? These are all the people that have signed up from the radio program today that say, I'm connected. There is a new system, and you can read about it all at glennbeck.com, that will connect people together without a middleman. So you can be connected and find out how freedom works. You need to, please, connect with your neighbors, whether you use this system or something else. Find out all about it at glennbeck.com. Connect. Community organizing is what wins the battle of freedom. Back in a minute. I asked you at the top of the hour if you remembered the NEA putting out Obama propaganda to get you to buy into health care. They didn't announce that they were doing it. They were using propaganda. They were using artists to convince people to do it. Is there any difference between that and what the State Department is now doing with Google and others to convince you that democracy is the right thing in Egypt? From New York, good night, America.